Welcome to the 10 most incredible natural springs in Central Florida. We're Jamie and Skylar, and we've spent a good part of the last several years exploring Florida's natural springs and meeting a few of their residents. And while these springs may not get the attention of Florida's beaches, they are every bit as stunning and offer a unique Florida adventure. And we're going to start this adventure with the first spring on the list, Weeki Wachee. Located in Spring Hill, Florida, Weeki Wachee is the southernmost and possibly the most well-known of the springs on this list. The state park is probably known best for its famous mermaids, who put on multiple shows per day and have performed for celebrities such as Elvis Presley and Jimmy Buffett. For a fee of $13 per adult and $8 per child, guests can view the live show, which includes feats of underwater dancing, synchronized swimming, and even eating and drinking underwater. While the mermaid show is certainly a hit among kids, we found that it can also be quite enjoyable for adults, as it's very educational, providing a history of the springs and some of its famous visitors, as well as what people can do to help preserve the threatened ecosystem. Although the entrance fee to the park does include access to the mermaid show, time slots do fill up quickly, so you should plan to arrive early if you hope to catch a show. While many will find the mermaid show alone to be worth the cost of admission to Weeki Wachee State Park, the admission price also covers your entrance to the Buccaneer Bay Water Park. This park unfortunately was closed during our visit to the state park, but it is currently up and running. And while we may not have gotten a chance to enjoy the water slides, we were still able to enjoy some time on the beach, as well as some time swimming, jumping, and diving into the head spring. The state park entrance fee will also provide you with access to some nice walking trails, as well as the Discovery Center and its resident reptiles. While the state park sure has a lot to offer, we have yet to even cover our favorite Weeki Wachee experience, the paddling. Many paddlers choose to begin their paddle on the Weeki Wachee at the state park, where you can rent a paddleboard or kayak, paddle downstream for 2.8 miles, and be picked up and taken back to the park for $35. For just $8, you can also launch your own vessel at the state park. However, launching from the state park does require reservations, which often book up quickly. Alternatively, paddlers can begin their Weeki Wachee River adventure around 6 miles downstream at Rogers Park, where for $10 you can park for the full day, launch your own vessel, and paddle all the way to the head spring and back. We attempted the 12-mile round-trip paddle on 2 separate occasions, and while the first attempt was thwarted by swarms of biting yellow flies, on our second attempt we made it all the way to the state park and back. As this paddle is a popular one and motorized boats are allowed outside of the state park, the river can get a bit congested, especially on the weekends, but as you paddle further upstream and closer to the head spring, the amount of people gets less and less and the waters just keep getting clearer. While Weeki Wachee isn't our favorite spot to paddle in Florida, it definitely does rank in our top 5, and with everything else it has to offer, it likely ranks at the very top of the Florida Springs list for many. Our next Florida Springs stop takes us just 25 miles to the north to another of Florida's 175 state parks. Ellie Schiller Homosassa Springs Wildlife State Park is probably best known for the wildlife which resides within the park. The entrance fee is $13 per adult, $5 for kids, and children 5 and under are free. The fee includes tram rides to and from the visitor center to the park entrance and access to the boardwalk, reptile house, and nature walk. For those interested in taking the boat to and from the entrance, there is an additional fee of $3 per person per adult and $2 per kid, and children 5 and under are free. So here's where we're at the visitor center. If you pay extra to take the boat, you'll go along Pepper Creek all the way to the entrance. But if you are just taking the tram or the trail, you'll follow this path all the way to the entrance. Now, while you can't get in the water and swim at Homosassa Springs, one thing that it has over all the other springs is that you are guaranteed to see all of these different types of animals. If you need to grab a bite to eat or a souvenir during your visit, there is a cafe and shop at both the visitor center and the park entrance. Along the nature walk, visitors can spot several animals including alligators, a hippo, wolves, a bear, and Florida panthers. So something I did learn from this place is how big Florida panthers can get. They get a lot bigger than I thought. The park is also home to a variety of birds like owls, herons, a bald eagle, more owls, crested caracara, and flamingos. Well, it's almost noon, but for some of these birds it seems too early still. A lot of them are sleeping. Looks like one of them is trying to wake up some of the others. It's been splashing around making some noise, but most of them are still just sleeping. The boardwalk eventually leads to an underwater observatory where you can watch fish and even manatee on a day when the water is clear. It was pretty cloudy during our visit, but we were lucky enough to spot a manatee from above the water. There is a manatee swimming. He was swimming right towards us. I just saw his snout come up You can see where the water is like disturbed over there. Let's see if he comes up closer. Oh, he is closer. There you can see the back. It's so reflective right now. It's hard to see them under the water, so you have to wait till they come up to the surface. So the staff are actually throwing lettuce down. That's a big manatee. It definitely likes the lettuce. Our third Florida Springs takes us another 80 miles to the north, which is where you'll find Florida's newest state park at Gilchrist Blue Springs. Established in 2017, Gilchrist Blue Springs offers its visitors a variety of options for outdoor adventure for an entry fee of just $6 per vehicle. One of those options is hiking, which can be done either on the main 1.5 mile loop trail or one of the several side trails. The trails here are quite scenic, but also are home to lots of gigantic banana spiders, which while not especially dangerous, are still something you'll want to keep an eye out for. Florida's 175th State Park also offers a great opportunity for beginner kayakers and paddlers as rentals are available. The out and back paddle route is only around a quarter mile each direction, and the waters are incredibly clear and quite wide and shallow in most areas. Now you can choose to continue your paddle once the spring-fed run meets up with the Santa Fe River, but the paddle experience here will be quite a bit different.
Jamie's hanging back in the spring. She didn't want to come out under the river. Honestly, I don't blame her. The springs are beautiful. You can literally see everything below you. Whereas on the river out here, it's murky. You can't see anything in the water. But I will say it's still quite pretty.
I don't know why you'd want to leave these areas though. They are so gorgeous. Now while we'd highly recommend both the hiking and paddling here, our favorite thing to do at this park has to be the swimming and snorkeling in the main spring itself, Gilchrist Blue. A second magnitude spring discharging over 44 million gallons of water per day, the main spring has some of the clearest and bluest waters of any spring you'll find in Florida, and it will likely come as no surprise that it's an incredibly popular spot for swimming and fills up early, especially on the weekends. Due to its popularity, we highly recommend visiting this spring as close to its 8 a.m. opening time as possible, and even though it may be a bit chilly this early in the morning during the winter months, the water will always be around 72 degrees, and it will be well worth enduring the cold to experience these waters at their clearest. Our next spring's destination takes us around 60 miles southeast to Silver Springs State Park. The admission fee is $8 per vehicle, which provides access to the trails, boardwalk, restaurant and shops, and a chance to spot some wild monkeys. There are additional fees to rent pavilions, camp, stay in cabins, go on boat tours, and launch or rent paddling vessels. There's even a ballroom to host events like weddings.
Now, like so many other Florida springs, Silver Springs is a great place to explore via kayak or paddleboard. But if you're more into motorized boats, Silver Springs also offers a very unique and affordable way to explore the springs and its glass-bottom boat tours.
Tours date all the way back to the late 1870s, and currently visitors can go on a 30-minute tour for $15 per adult and $14 for seniors and children from 3 to 12. If you've got a bit more time, then you may want to consider the 90-minute tour, which costs $30 per adult and $25 per child or senior.
This is a very special boat here at Silver Springs because this is the oldest glass bottom boat here at Silver Springs, and it is the last completely original glass bottom boat. If you got on this boat in 1962, this is exactly what you would have seen, except you've been stepping onto a brand new boat. Now, with all that being said, are we ready to go on an adventure today? Yeah! Let's go.
The glass at the bottom of the boats is half an inch thick, and while there is no magnification, the depth of the water is often deceiving due to how clear it is.
Right here it's about 12 to 14 feet deep.
Wow, it does not look 12 to 14 feet deep here. According to the captain, the water is 99.8% pure when it comes out of the ground. Throughout the tour, the captain shared interesting facts, including famous people who have visited the area, as well as movies that were filmed at Silver Springs, like the first 6 original Tarzan movies. The first spring we saw was called the Spring of the Stars and is where Creature from the Black Lagoon was filmed. Along the way we saw a couple alligators, several birds and fish, and a few turtles. The last spring we saw was Mammoth Spring, which is the largest spring in the park. Now, another unique feature of Silver Springs is that it is home to rhesus macaque monkeys. Now, these monkeys are not native to Florida. We learned several years ago there was a captain that released 6 of them on an island, but he did not know that these monkeys could swim, so they escaped the island, and now there are hundreds of them living in Florida. Now, even though there are so many that are known to live in the park, they are good at staying out of sight if they don't want to be seen, so there is no guarantee that you will see one during your visit.
No monkeys today.
Next on our list of the top Central Florida springs is Inkling Springs State Park, which takes us around 70 miles back to the northwest. The massive 2,200-acre park includes 8 major springs and a protected 3.5-mile stretch of the spring-fed Inkling River. Visitors to the park pay a $6 entrance fee per vehicle and can enjoy a variety of activities.
Now, for those of you who are visiting the park primarily to enjoy the springs, either by swimming in the head spring or by snorkeling or scuba diving in the blue hole, you will want to visit the north entrance.
Now, visiting Inkling State Park can be very confusing because it has a north entrance and a south entrance, but whether you're coming here for tubing or paddling, I'd say most people end up at the south entrance, parking here at the landing area. Now, if you're here for tubing, this is going to be the area where you can rent your tubes, get your tram tickets. From there, you can walk or take a tram up to the midpoint launch. From there, you can float down the river, back to the landing, or all the way to the south takeout, and then you can take the tram back to the parking area here. Now, the north 1.5 miles is reserved for paddlers, so if you are here parking at the south area, you can rent a paddle craft here, and then you can paddle upstream all the way to the headstream and float back down, or you can pay for a shuttle, which will take you to the north end with your craft and float back down as well. Once you're north beyond the midpoint launch, only paddlecraft are allowed on the river, and you're not allowed to get out of your vessel. So look at the difference. This is the north part of the river, and then look at that, the south. The north part of the river is where we saw a ton of wildlife during our visit. There is an otter right over there. I don't know if you can see it. He's on that log, but you're probably not going to be able to see him in this footage. It's pretty cute though. Oh, there's the otter. Oh, there's 2 of them. Oh my gosh, so cute. I know when we entered the park today, the park ranger said that the ecologist or biologist or something saw a whole bunch of them. They keep peeking up to say hi. They're so adorable. Now, in order to protect the waters, the park does not allow several items on the river, including anything disposable, food, coolers, alcohol, tobacco and nicotine, radios and speakers, pets, glitter, and fishing gear. Anything you decide to take on the water may be inspected by staff.
This is so peaceful, just floating down this river. There's just fish swimming everywhere. It's so clear. There is no one else out here. Quite the experience.
Our 6th Florida Springs destination takes us around 160 miles southeast, where just north of Orlando, you'll find Wekiwa Springs State Park. Visitors to this state park will find a little bit of everything, as it offers great opportunities for swimming, paddling, camping, and hiking. According to the state park's website, Wekiwa Springs is Orange County's longest-running tourist attraction. The entrance fee is $6 per vehicle, which provides access to the springs, trails, and nature center. The swimming area is shallow, and due to this, diving and jumping are not allowed.
Now you can probably see the steam rising off of the springs behind me, and that's because while the water temperature in the springs is 72 degrees, the air temperature this morning is only around 55 degrees. Now surprisingly, there are a few people still swimming in the springs this morning. I actually heard one of them say that it felt really good because the water is so much warmer than the air, but I can only imagine how cold it would be getting out of the springs, so I think we're going to leave the swimming to them today.
If you're more interested in a paddle adventure, you can launch your own vessel or rent kayaks, canoes, or paddleboards on site through Wekiwa Springs State Park Nature Adventure. From here, you can paddle to destinations like Wekiwa Island or Kelly Park via the Wekiwa River and Rock Springs Run. In addition to swimming and paddling, this park also offers hiking. It has an extensive trail system, including a main trail that's over 13 miles, a biking trail, as well as a horse riding trail. We are currently on the wet to dry trail in Wekiwa Springs, and this has to be the coolest trail that we have been on out of all the springs that we have visited here in Florida.
And we should also mention that this park does offer camping as well. It looks like if you hike around a mile down this trail, you'll reach the campsite. Now, we did read online that there are black bears in this park, and we actually confirmed with the ranger that it's not that uncommon to spot some out on these trails. How common is it to see a bear out here?
Pretty common, actually.
We have been keeping our eyes out, though, and we haven't seen any yet. Now, if the thought of encountering a black bear out on these trails has made you have second thoughts of visiting this park, maybe this sign will make you feel a little bit more comfortable. Then again, maybe not.
A unique experience you may encounter if you visit at the right time is observing Peaches out for her morning walk with the rangers. She's a 22-year-old, 6-foot-long Florida pine snake that lives at the Nature Center. Would you say hi to Peaches the pine snake? Or would you stay as far away as possible? Let us know in the comments. Our next Florida spring takes us around 90 miles back to the northwest, where you'll find one of Florida's best destinations for paddling and tubing at Rainbow Springs State Park. It's located near Dyalla, Florida, approximately 100 miles north of Tampa and 50 miles south of Gainesville. The scenic Rainbow River gently winds 5.7 miles southward from its source at Rainbow Springs, which consists of hundreds of small vents that combine to release over 400 million gallons of water each day. With its clear waters and beautiful scenery around every bend, it's no surprise that over 200,000 people visit Rainbow Springs to paddle, tube, swim, boat, and fish each year. Entrance to the park is $2 per person. At the head spring, visitors can swim, snorkel, and rent paddlecraft by the hour or day to explore the river. Visitors are allowed to launch their own paddlecraft, however, there is no parking close to the launch and vessels must be transported approximately 1,800 feet on land. We highly recommend paddling around the head spring as this is some of the clearest water we've encountered in Florida. The park also offers tubing, which is $24 per person to float downstream for approximately 2.5 miles to the pickup spot, where a tram will bring you back to the starting point. Keep in mind when planning your trip that alcohol and any disposable items are not allowed on the river, and that during the busy season, the park can reach capacity pretty early in the day. Another option to paddle and tube the Rainbow River nearby is at KP Hull Park. While this park does offer some free first-come, first-served parking, you can reserve a parking spot online in advance for around $20 to ensure you can visit on the day you want to. For all of those details, we would recommend watching our Rainbow River episode next, and we'll leave a link to it in the video description. The next spot on our list takes us around 80 miles southeast back to the Orlando area. It's here that you'll find one of Florida's most beautiful spots for paddling, launching from Kings Landing to get to Rock Springs Run. Here you can launch your own vessel for a day paddle for $10 or rent kayaks, canoes, or paddleboards on site, which currently range in price from $49 to $69. If you're more interested in a guided tour, they offer several options ranging from $59 to $109 per person. If you do visit Kings Landing, you will park along this road here. Now, they do give you very good instructions about that if you reserve ahead of time. We ended up just carrying our boards all the way to Kings Landing from the road, but you can drive your vehicle down into the area to pick up and drop off boards. There's a narrow waterway that connects Kings Landing to the Spring Run. The waterway is murky and shallow, but very quickly opens up to a much different view.
We've only been paddling maybe 2 or 3 minutes or so down this little waterway, and as you can see, we're coming up on the run. You can already see up there that the bottom is sandy. The water looks really clear.
So we're taking a right out of the waterway to paddle towards the Emerald Cut. I think you can paddle for about an hour that direction until you have to turn around. Now, we were told that this area does get pretty shallow and you are allowed to swim in it. So if you are wanting to get off your paddlecraft and enjoy the water, you'll definitely want to go right. So we found a place here in the jungle to pull off. I think we're gonna do a little bit of swimming, hang out a bit.
It's a nice place.
Yes, it is. The Emerald Cut gets its name from the sparkling emerald water found in this area of the run. Overall, the atmosphere in the Emerald Cut is quite unique.
Compared to Ichitukni, I would say that it's much more of a jungle vibe here. It's very dense, very tropical feeling. Lots of palm trees, lots of vines.
Kings Landing does have more restrictions when compared to other spring areas on this list, but we thought it made the experience more serene. For example, they do not allow alcohol, and the staff do complete bag checks.
They don't let speakers out here, which I love. You can really hear the nature. You're not hearing music. There's no motorized boats, so you're not hearing motors running.
During our visit, there were areas of the run that were louder with more people hanging out and having a good time, but there were even more areas which were peaceful where we could simply enjoy nature. The turnaround point is at the edge of Rock Springs Kelly Park, which is a great spot if you want to swim or tube. The paddle back through the Emerald Cut is even more relaxing as you travel with the current instead of paddling against it. Our next Florida Springs destination takes us around 130 miles to the northwest to the High Springs area, where you'll find one of the lesser known but more unique springs on this list at Post Springs Park. While Post Springs may not offer the paddling opportunities that you'll find at nearby Ichtucknee and Gilcrest Blue, it does generally offer a less crowded alternative to its neighboring springs and one of the nicest boardwalks you'll find at any Florida park.
So we did visit Post Springs a few years back, but on this visit we were really happy to find that they greatly improved their boardwalk. It's nice and wide and looks almost brand new. So even though you do have to walk a half mile to get from the parking lot to the springs, the path is really nice.
Now, if you can't make it into some of the bigger spring areas like Ichtucknee or Blue Springs because they've reached capacity, we would recommend checking out Poe. We are here on a Sunday around 10 a.m. in July, and it is still almost empty. As you make your way down to the head spring, you may notice that the water looks a bit different than most of the other springs on this list. Post Springs is really green when compared to Blue Springs and Ichtucknee, but it is still very pretty. Skylar is currently on a mission to find some turtles. And while we didn't see a single fish in these waters, Skylar did spot several turtles near the second magnitude head spring, which pumps out an average of 45 million gallons of clear and cool water daily. The 10th and final spot on our list of the top Central Florida springs takes us around 70 miles back to the south, where you'll find a destination that offers a little bit of everything at Three Sisters Springs. Our favorite thing about Three Sisters has to be the opportunity for manatee viewing and encounters. Land access to the refuge where the springs are located is managed by the Three Sisters Spring Center in Crystal River. The center keeps track of how many manatees are in the springs each day. Ticket prices do vary by season. During the summer season, adult admission is $12.50 and children from 6 to 15 are $7.50. Now, Three Sisters Springs is one of the more confusing springs to access in Florida, and that's because if you access via the water, you cannot get on land, and if you access it on land, you cannot get in the water. The price of admission does include the tram service, which can take you from the visitor center directly to the springs and back. Those are running about every 20 minutes during our visit, but it also includes a bigger trolley system where it will take you to a couple other places in Crystal River like downtown and Hunter Springs. Now, because it is a gorgeous spring day today, we decided to walk. It was only about a quarter-mile walk from the visitor center, and the path was very wide and easy to follow. Here's where you'd wait if you wanted to hop on one of their trolleys. Accessing the springs via the boardwalk provides a great way to view the crystal clear water, the paddlers or swimmers who access the area via the water, and any manatee that decide to visit as well. Not gonna lie, I'm a little jealous of everybody out there in the water. I wish we had more time today to paddle out to the springs because the water looks super clear. Now, everybody who is in the springs today would have entered from the river over there. You can paddle in or you can swim in. Now, you may notice that all the paddlecraft in here, none of them are pulled up onto the shoreline, and that's because it is prohibited. You're not able to get on the land from the water, so if you're in the water, you do not have access to this boardwalk. So we got really lucky because we were told we would likely not see a manatee today, but there is one out in the river. It probably just looks like a dark blob right now. Hopefully it will come up and we can show it to you. Back at the visitor center, they're gonna have to update their manatee count today because one has officially made it in.
Now, while we were lucky enough to see a couple of manatees in the springs here at Three Sisters in April, you are going to be much more likely to see them in the colder months when the spring water is actually warmer than the water in the Gulf and in the river. Now, if you really love manatees and are feeling a little bit adventurous, we would recommend swimming with them on a tour with the Adventure Center out of the plantation at Crystal River. We actually did that a couple of years ago, and we will leave a link to the video with that experience in the description as well.
If you're like us and just can't get enough of Florida's gorgeous natural springs, then go ahead and click on our Florida Springs playlist right now to see even more footage from most of the springs highlighted in this episode. Don't forget to let us know which springs are at the top of your bucket list in the comments, or if we missed any that we should add to our list. As always, thanks for watching!